Hello, welcome back. Yesterday we started chapter 4 and we learned how Ghost cut off his shoes. And he woke up being like, I think it's still a good idea. And he got to school and everything's going well. He's finding out how everyone's talking about how he beat up Brandon Simmons. He's like a hero and everything is all good. And he said, until social studies. And that's where we left off. I wasn't really in the mood to learn about Alexander the Great, even though I did like the fact that he was called the Great. But I was even less in the mood. But what I was even less in the mood for was sitting in front of Shameka Wilson. Shameka was big, like huge. She had to be almost 6 feet tall in the seventh grade, and she had a birthmark that covered half her light skinned face in dark brown, like a comic book bad guy or something. But Shameka wasn't a mean girl. She was actually kind of cool. The only problem with her was that she was super silly. And she had a laugh as big as her body. But it was a real laugh. The kind that made her bend over. The kind that Coach was faking when I first met him. So when I sat down in front of her and bumped her desk, knocking one of her pencils on the floor, Shameka leaned over to pick it up, noticing my new and improved sneakers. And then came the thunder. It just came out of nowhere. And once she starts laughing, Shameka can't stop. And the worst part is that she can sort of pass her laugh around the room to everybody. She has like an addictive laugh just because the sound of it is so outrageous. So if she laughs, everybody laughs. Imagine the sound a car makes when it's trying to start but can't. Now speed that sound up and crank the volume high enough to blow out the windows in heaven. That's Shameka's laugh. What's so funny, Shameka? Mr. Hollow, the social studies teacher, asked unamused. Would you care to share it with the rest of the class? And that's pretty much when I started to panic. When I had that doctor moment I was talking about, when they cut somebody's arm off and realized it was a bad idea, my shoes equaled that arm. And now Mr. Hollow was basically asking to see my surgical screw up. Oh no. Please, Shameka, don't share it with the class. Don't share it with the class. Don't share it with the class. Shameka couldn't get herself together long enough to even speak. So instead of speaking, she just pointed at my feet. And that was all it took for like 60 other eyeballs, including Mr. Hollow's, to laser beam me and my sneakers. I tried to cross my legs, then stuck my feet further under my desk, then pulled my pant legs down, but then my butt was out. Ugh, there was nowhere to hide. In the next few seconds, with the whole class howling, felt like a gazillion times worse than Brandon's stupid jokes about my mom. Mr. Hollow finally shut it all down and went on about Alexander the Great, while I, Ghost the Worst, stared at the pages in my textbook, the stupid black words and the stupid white page all blurring together as solid black lines. I was literally shaking with embarrassment, like my insides turned into ice that was cracking. I wanted to break the desk or flip it over, scream, something, anything. Miraculously, the lunch bell rang. Everybody poured into the hallway, moving toward the cafeteria, some still talking about me, others playing and joking, slapping hands, jumping on backs. Getting Mr. Baskin, the school security guard, all mad as usual, forcing him to leave his post to deal with the craziness. And knowing that Baskin wasn't where he was supposed to be, once I finally got to the double doors of the lunchroom, a lunchroom I felt was going to eat me, I just kept walking. More like a sore walk run straight out the front door of the school. I had never skipped class before. Never. I mean, I had my fair share of school problems, but I was never bold enough to just not go. And I definitely didn't have the guts to walk out in the middle of the day. But now I didn't have a choice. I had to get out of there. Once I was outside, I broke out in a full-on run. I mean, I straight up jetted. And because I was so scared of getting caught, I couldn't even feel the pain in my legs anymore. I turned down a busy street with a whole bunch of stores on it, just because it seemed like the easiest place to blend in. I almost went into a wig shop just because I figured I might be able to grab a disguise. I mean, a wig would definitely do it. But nah. Then there was the fish market. I looked in the window. 3 short guys took huge fish, big like they were baby sharks or something, and hacked their heads off with giant knives. Wham! That was wild. But somehow I could relate to the fish. Actually, I could kind of relate to the men chopping the heads off the fish, too. Then I came to a sporting goods store. That's when the best idea ever popped into my head. Welcome to Everything Sports, a lady greeted me at the door. Her name tag said Tia. She was wearing sweatpants and a basketball jersey with the store's name on the front. She didn't really look like she played sports, though. Patty looked like an athlete. But this girl, not so much. I mean, she had on makeup and had her hair all done. Let me know if you need any help finding anything, she said. I hummed awkwardly. I tried not to look her directly in the face, just because I didn't want her to say nothing about me not being in school. Plus, I felt weird about being the only person in the store. Y'all got Trek stuff? I asked. Then, trying to be more clear, I added, like shoes? Yep, the girl Tia said, leading the way. The track shoes at Everything Sports were amazing. Neon green and gold, shiny black and electric blue. They looked like they were full of power and speed. Like just wearing them could get me closer to Usain Bolt's world record. They were just like Lou's. I picked up one of the shoes, a silver one, flipped it over to see the price, then put it right back down. Yikes. Then I looked at a mean, bright orange one, looked at the bottom. You want to try any of them? Tia asked. She had been standing behind me the whole time. I put the orange shoe back. There were even more. And turned to face her. The silver ones, I guess? Size? She asked. I don't really know. I think an 8, maybe 8.5. The truth is, I had no idea what size I wore. I couldn't remember. When me and Mom went to get my last pair, the ones I was wearing, the ones that now had their heads chopped off, the reason we went in the first place was because the sneakers I had were too small. I think I was a 7 then, and we had to bump up to an 8, but I just couldn't remember. Tia eyeballed my feet, and even though I knew she was trying to guess my shoe size, I couldn't help but think she was looking at my chewed up dogs like, what the? I was hearing Shameka's booming laugh ringing in my ears when Tia finally chirped. I'll bring a 9, too. I took a seat on one of the benches and looked around at the boxing gloves and soccer balls and every other kind of sports equipment. There was a man working in the store, too. He was standing next to a rack of jump ropes, tossing a basketball back and forth from hand to hand, and occasionally spinning it on one finger, but only for like a second. He probably wasn't no athlete either. A few moments later, Tia came back out with 2 boxes. Okay, she said, setting the boxes down on the floor in front of me. I got an 8 and a 9, but no 8.5. She popped the top to get them for me. She popped the top of the first box. Let's start with the 9. She pulled the silver shoes from the box and set them down in front of me. I untied my frayed shoestrings. I had to cut them too, and slipped my sneakers off, tucking them under the bench. Two more people walked into the store. Tia and the other guy greeted them. Then Tia encouraged me to put the shoes on, walk around, jump up and down, and whatever. Take your time and get a feel for them. I put the shoes on. The nines fit perfectly. After I laced them tight, I stood up and bounced up and down a few times, like Tia suggested. They felt amazing, almost like I didn't have any shoes on at all. I stepped in front of the mirror to check myself out. Man, it looked like I was wearing spaceships on my feet, or silver bullets. How are they? Tia came back over to check on me. They're good, I said, still staring at my feet in the mirror. I felt like they had some kind of power in them, and that power was pumping into me. The kind of power that shut down all the laughter. I repeated, now looking at her. They're good. Perfect. Tia nodded and went to talk to one of the other customers. And that's when I made my move. At first, I wasn't going to do it. I mean, when I went into the store, it was a thought, but only a thought. Not even like a real thought either. Because I knew that I could just ask my mother to get them for me. And she would, because she felt like this track thing was going to keep me out of trouble. But when I saw how much they cost, I couldn't ask her for them. I just couldn't. But these were shut up shoes. Nobody would have nothing to say about me with these on my feet. And that's when the thought became real. I took the shoes off, and when Tia moved to the other side of the store to show the baseball gloves to one of the people who had come in, and the other guy who worked there and had run in the back to grab something for the other customer, I slipped the silver bullets into my backpack. I put the top on the back on the box and put the empty shoebox under the other one, the eights. Then I put my sneakers back on as fast as I could. I slung my bag on my shoulder and headed for the door. Then as I got there, Tia called out, "No good?" I was stunned, but shook it off and played it cool. They're amazing. I love them, I said, trying not to look her in the face. Maybe I'll come back for them later. I pushed the door open. As soon as I stepped through the doorway, I took off. I pounded down the street, waiting to hear someone yell, "Hey, kid!" or "Thief!" Somebody stop that kid, like they do on TV, but no one did. At least I didn't hear none of that. The streets can be noisy with cars and people bumbling around, not to mention when you're running scared like I was, the only sound you really hear is the sound of your own heart banging like a scary soundtrack to the chase. I turned the corner, still looking over my shoulder for the police, but I stopped running because if a cop saw a random kid running down the street in the middle of the school day, it might be a sign the kid's up to no good. And I was that kid. So I tried to throw off any potential cops by walking. But that felt cocky. So I did a weird, "don't mind me, I'm just doing my old lady power walk" thing. I knew it was only a matter of time before the police came out of nowhere, charging at me, ready to take me to jail, all because I wanted some dope shoes to be a better runner, to be a better basketball player. Be better so nobody could say. Anyway, the cops never came. I didn't stop, though. Too paranoid. I almost jumped into a trash can when a police car with his sirens on zipped past me. But he wasn't looking for me. Nope, he was looking for a real criminal. And I wasn't a real criminal. One with a real rap sheet. Of course, after about 5 or 6 minutes of not quite running, not quite walking, I had to stop and figure out exactly where I was going. Didn't want to head home. I mean, I could have. It would have been safe, but I just didn't want to go there. When I'm there by myself too long, the house becomes some kind of time machine, teleporting me back 3 or 4 years, listening to my mom and dad fight and scream every night, taking me back to all the bad stuff, so that was out. There was only one other place I thought was safe enough to go, Mr. Charles' store. Okay, so for your response today, Simply, why did Ghost decide to steal the shoes? And give 2 examples to prove your opinion. There's probably a lot of examples you could give, but find 2 reasons or 2 examples that prove why he stole the shoes. Okay, thank you very much.